book. What did you think at first?
It breaks all the rules. I believed in his research so much that I just bent our rules. And since I own the company, I can do that. But Kim, we don't accept books from outside the U.S., people that have English as a second language. His writing was so articulate and clear that I got over that right away. He was from Uruguay, and doing business between the some South American countries and the U.S. It's kind of difficult. Money doesn't flow well. Banks don't play nice. So I took a look at it and I said, well, I really think that the information in this book is worth all of those headaches. And so we just threw the rules out the window, and Dr. Klein is the first South American author that we've taken. He's the first English as a second language author that we've taken. But his credentials, he's an anthropologist, he's a professor, he is very well written, he expresses himself very, very well. And so we thought that the book would be worth it.
It goes into intense detail. The level of detail is amazing.
The level of detail is quite scholarly. And I am not doing it justice today, I can tell you that. And I'm throwing in quite a bit of my own just history and belief and all that into his book. You'll have to really get it and sit down with it and say, oh, he is really uncovering some interesting facts. The main fact is the difference between what we will call the community at Qumran and specifically the community of the Essenes. They have been grouped together pretty much just as one group until now. But Dr. Klein has uncovered some information that leads us to believe that they are separate, if not a subgroup, and that they function under slightly different laws of ownership, laws of marriage and celibacy, things like that. And it looks like, for example, you can belong to the Catholic Church and you follow a set of guidelines, and you become a priest and you follow a even more strict set of guidelines. And it almost looks like the Essenes were part of that kind of inner priesthood, if you might say. We also thought maybe that there were no women within the Qumran community. That turns out not to be true. There might not be any women in the inner sanctum of the Essene community, but Qumran had women and children, and it looks like the children may have been adopted.
Why adopted?
Well, they handled things. There were different levels, you might say, of righteousness, and that might be an odd way of putting it, but you can take a vow of celibacy or not. So there were people that did not. There were people that were Essenes that did not live within the community. And then there were people that did live inside the community, and they followed certain strict rules. Those people who were celibate could adopt and raise the children as their own. And that's what the Shakers in the U.S. did. They were a celibate Christian community, and they adopted. But as I said before, when you make celibacy part of your religious guideline, stand by for news, you're going extinct.
I'm sorry I'm laughing, but it's funny.
It's funny to me, too. It's like, what can we do to shoot ourselves in the foot and bleed out slowly? Oh, let's go celibacy. See, my view on religion is really, really slanted toward the psychological, the human psychology point of view. I look at the amalgam and the mixture of religions as they evolve. For example, the Essene community had a really, really defined sense of good and evil. As a matter of fact, contracts weren't even allowed in the Essene community because if your word wasn't good enough, you were kicked out anyway. Now, that's a wonderful thing, in my opinion, that a handshake and a word meant more than a contract with anybody else. but they had such a defined sense of good and evil that they had the sons of light and the sons of darkness. And a war would happen between these sons of righteousness, the sons of light, and the sons of darkness, the sons of evil. At the last days, they have a very apocalyptic view of the world, and almost every religion, when it has an apocalyptic view of the world, they think, of course, they are the remnant, and they're the ones that are going to survive, and God will kill everybody else and smite their enemies and raise them up. And, you know, the Christians have that viewpoint also. It evolved from that same kind of aspect. We Christians as a whole think that everyone else, God is going to come back and wipe out all the heathens and save the Christians. Well, if you're a Jew and you think that you're the chosen people, and somebody comes in and kicks your butt, like for example in 70 A.D. where the temple was completely razed to the ground, and you're sitting there looking at this and you go, well, wait a minute, I thought we were the chosen people. And someone says, well, yeah, we are, but we just kind of got off track here. We've got to really kind of bear down and get really, really right with God, and then he's going to come back and wipe out the entire world, and we will be raised up as his own, chosen people, and we'll show everybody else. That happens with every single religion. It's happening now in the religions in the Middle East. There's a whole sect in the Middle East that go, wow, they came in, the U.S. came in, and they really kicked our butts. What does this mean? Oh, okay, it probably means we haven't killed enough Americans. Let that sink in, guys. I'm going to be quiet for a minute and let that sink in. We haven't been righteous enough because we haven't killed enough Christians. So, the Jews aren't too far from that. They think, well, we haven't been righteous enough. And so that's the apocalyptic view is you get really, really, really religious, not spiritual, because if you're spiritual, you don't go around killing people. You become religious, and you get all your rules and regulations right, and God comes back and blesses you and wipes everybody else out.
This is really heavy, but this is the essence of what's going awry with a religious spirit, in a sense that you have the license to go ahead and do whatever you want.
In the name of God, yes.
Right.
Now, I wanted to make a point that the Essenes were not a warrior people. They weren't. But I'm making a point that when something goes wrong and you think that you've got your act together and you have all the answers and God's speaking directly to you, when something goes wrong in your world, you only have two ways to go. Gee, I was wrong and I'm not all that special, or I must not have been righteous enough and I've got to really sit down and follow the rules. Then if you're a warrior religion, like Christianity was in the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages, and when we were taking over, trying to imperialize and take over the world, and as a footnote, as Islam, some sects of Islam continue to be now, then we have a problem because, see, we were stone knives and bearskins back in that day, and we could wreak havoc and draw a lot of blood, but it was by the sword. And now we have the same screwed up viewpoint of religion, except now we have nukes and bios. And things are going to get really, really nasty unless somebody wakes up and says, religion sucks. We need to be spiritual, and that means we need to figure this out from a vantage point of God himself. If God made us, does he really want us to kill each other? Doesn't seem reasonable to me.
Not to diverge from what you're saying, it seems to me that these religious wars that are taking place are going to find their way into the destruction of entire cities and countries. But if we could go back for just a moment to the Dead Sea Jesus and talk a little bit about the calendar. You had talked about how the Jewish people have a calendar that's a lunar calendar. The Essenes had a solar calendar that's described in the Book of Enoch. How this is important if one believes that the holy days must be carried out at the proper time. And if you believe in two messiahs, what do you do?
If you believe that you have got to follow the letter of the law, and that letter has to do with timing and holy days, then it follows that you must have the right holy days